Today's goal is simple. More light. Let me preface this by saying that I mostly have no idea what I'm doing, but I do know that I want a large light source that's overhead that has a lot of diffusion. Diffused light looks nicer when we're doing videography and photography and stuff like that, or so I've been told. I do have a plan. I have a bag full of materials to build with. I have several very large sheets of foam core board that we picked up last week, so let's see if this works.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Corsair K65 Plus wireless RGB keyboard, featuring silky smooth pre-lubricated Corsair MLX red mechanical switches, 2 layers of sound dampening for softened typing acoustics, AES encrypted connectivity via low latency 2.4 GHz wireless, Bluetooth or USB wired, a multi-purpose rotary dial with function key combos and shortcut commands, resilient PBT dye sublimated keycaps, and of course, per key RGB lighting effects, which are endlessly customizable in Corsair's IQ software. For more on the Corsair K65 Plus, click the sponsor link in the video description. We're going to try to make the bottom of the softbox about 4 feet by 6 feet, roughly the same dimensions as this main working table where we do builds and stuff like that. And our light source at the center is going to be powered by these 2 devices. These are really simple $20 light holders, light power device things. And we're combining them with these really highly rated Philips LED bulbs. These are 60 watt equivalent bulbs. They draw actually about 8 watts, 5000 K in terms of the white level, which is pretty much daylight or very close to it. And these have really high CRI, or color rendering index. They're about 95 or 96 in that regard, which is really good for videography and photography because it provides better, more balanced light. So with these 2 receptacles, we'll have 8 bulbs. I'm planning to attach these together via their mounting points here. That's sort of how I begin, and then I've just been sort of conceptualizing ways to build it out from there. I did find a video by a guy who is supposedly a director of photography who does professional lighting, who also did a DIY build of a budget softbox that's very large, just like this. That's where I got the idea to use the foam board for the sides, which is also going to provide a little bit of structural support. And then also to keep costs down, the frame is going to be made of 1x3 pine, which we also picked up last week at Lowe's, and those are about $2.70 each for an 8-foot length. I have several other things for the build that I'm just going to kind of lay out for you guys here. I'm aiming for about a $350 to $450 total cost for the materials, which is a fair amount of money, but I think the end result's hopefully going to be comparable to stuff that costs a lot more than that. I will post links in the video's description to the stuff that I have chosen to use. This is our actual diffusion panel. This is from Newer, so this came from Amazon, and it's supposedly a diffusion silk. And this is actually quite long. It's 12 feet long, but hopefully it's also wide enough for our purposes. Cool, yes, it's wider than the table. The table's about 3.5 feet wide, so that's about the width that we're aiming for. And then we're either gonna go the full length of the table or perhaps just a little bit shorter than that. Some hardware here for additional support on the corners. These are just little corner brackets. I'm especially hoping that these will help with the vertical part. We're gonna taper the upper part of it in towards the light source, and that's gonna be probably the most challenging thing. Then for securing that poster board, we're gonna be using screws, but we don't wanna screw straight into poster board because the screw could pop out, so we have some very large washers. They do have poster board that's dual-sided that has like black on the outside and white on the inside, but to get the larger sheets that we needed to get, we had to go to the art supply warehouse to pick them up in person because we have like 96-inch long sections. I had some people recommend using Mylar on the inside, which you can get in really thin sheets, which is fairly inexpensive. That's probably maybe a better solution than what we're gonna go with. I've chosen to use aluminum tape because I already had this partially used roll. It's 4 inches wide, it's highly reflective, and I do have a couple backup rolls of this because I like tape, and aluminum tape like this is pretty fun. We don't want this thing to fall apart, so we will be using some wood glue for the corners. We're also gonna be using my nail gun. If it works, we might switch to screws as well. And then I would like the thing to be smart, and I'm really hoping that these work. So that's another thing we're gonna be doing, is testing these smart Wi-Fi outdoor dimmers today. It's basically like a smart plug that's gonna connect to the Wi-Fi once I get that all set up again using Home Assistant. But these are actually meant for like outdoor lights, which means that they can dim. Now you don't wanna dim something that's plugged in, like if you had a computer or something like that plugged in, but to dim lights and to dim LEDs that are listed as dimmable. The main reason I wanna make this a smart light is so we don't have to like climb up there to reach any switches or anything like that. And also that's gonna allow us to remotely adjust the lighting to our needs. We need to figure out how big that upper frame is gonna be, so we have these standard holes that are made for mounting rigging and stuff like that. We're gonna fit one end in there, and then we want the other housing to basically be right here. This is our 1x3 pine. We need to support this somehow, so we think we're just gonna put the bar right across it. So we're gonna cut this short enough that the other piece, when it fits right on here, will basically butt up right against that. All right, seems to have worked. All right, let's do 28 inches by 1 foot, 14. We've drawn up a schematic, more importantly though, a cut list. So now we have all of our cuts done. Our longer pieces, our shorter pieces, and our especially short pieces. All right, so here's our upper frame, just sort of laying things out here. Crossbeam in the middle for the lights to attach to. And we're going to nail and glue all the joints. Guess I'll just go for it, right? Glue. Feels pretty solid.
Here's Paul, like a little kid holding this school project.
Very proud.
You're very proud. Good job.
All right, let's do the big one. One of the big ones. More gluey glue.
So what's gonna happen is Paul's gonna push it, that end's gonna fall, it's gonna cross, a catastrophe, I think it's gonna flip over and stuff, watch. See it, it's getting close.
Don't be wishing hateful stuff on me, Joe.
A few moments later.
What did you predict, Joe? You abandoned your post, Joe. So clearly we need to angle this so that we have a little bit more support. There we go.
Oh, man.
Turn around, bright eyes. Every now and then I fall apart. I think it's funny because I actually, I don't like the song. I like it in that sort of I think it's a very prime example of that style of music that was popular in the 80s at the time and everything. Now it's probably going to be stuck in my head.
Paul secretly likes the song.
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
And he likes Creed.
Shut up. That I'll fight you about. So we're now installing these little corner brackets. We got 4 for the base piece and 4 for the upper piece. And I was trying to decide whether we should put the bracket outside of the vertical supports or inside the vertical supports like that. We've ended up deciding we're gonna put the bracket on here. We'll put this outside. That is gonna make a little bit of gap between this vertical support piece and the frame. But as long as it's doing that same gap on all 4 sides, it should still be okay. And this will also help to sort of hold this in place while we assemble the frame. And we've realized we can assemble the lower part of the frame out here, but it's probably gonna be too big to get through the door. So we're gonna need to bring it inside to mount the upper part where the lights are gonna be mounted once we figure out the exact angle we need for the supports for that piece. I'm also drilling pilot holes for this because the screws that came with it, not very strong. In fact, one broke off with very little effort just a moment ago.
It's not going anywhere.
All right, look at that. It's a frame. I've been framed. That's a stupid joke. This is the base of the thing. Kind of came together pretty much as planned, I think. Now we need to figure out exactly how much higher up the smaller frame is gonna set so we can figure out the angle for the struts or supports or whatever. We're gonna need to have 4 beams that come up there to kind of hold that in place. And then we get to start mounting the outer pieces with the foam board. Cool.
Day 2.
Since we're figuring things out as we go here, the next step was to take some measurements. I had to measure the door here to see if it would be wide enough to fit the entire frame through after it was assembled. And I had to measure the distance between the ceiling and the current upper frame that I have built in the garage to see how low this thing would sit, especially if I wanted to have it spaced from the roof by maybe a foot or so. I also decided to rethink how this thing would be hung from the ceiling. I was originally planning to hang it from the upper frame, but the lower frame seems much more sturdy, especially the corners here where we have the metal reinforcements. And the strap pieces going from the lower frame to the upper frame were the biggest question in my mind, because those needed to be strong enough to support the entire lower frame if the upper frame was what it was being suspended from. Fortunately, I have some of these little eyelet rings left over from a previous project, so I'm going to mount 4 of these at each corner at the sturdy part of the frame. Making that decision meant that the upper frame could be attached by a little bit simpler of a method. So rather than putting the supports at the 4 corners, I put them in the center, which is not as sturdy, but it was a lot easier in terms of getting everything set up, since I was doing a lot of eyeballing to get the upper frame exactly where I wanted it. Fortunately, when I measured how high I wanted it to be, and I needed something to set it on top of, I discovered that the Thermaltake Tower 300 case box was actually the perfect height. So no, Thermaltake is not sponsoring this video at all. This was pretty random that worked out, but that allowed me to position it in the center. I used some of the long sections of 1x3 to help center that a little bit more, marked out the center points on the upper and lower frame, eyeballed that to line those up, and then cut all of the support pieces to the angle they needed to be with my miter saw, and then secured those with the glue and the nails as we had the rest of the frame. Fortunately, it is very sturdy. It is absolutely not going to be perfectly square or anything like that. And yes, there are probably much better ways that I could have aligned this and mounted it, but this was at least successful. And if any of you guys in the comments section do like professional woodworking, feel free to lambaste me and let me know how I should have done this rather than what I did. The upshot is that we now have this nice sturdy frame to work with. We are ready to start mounting the outer pieces, the foam board that we got. But before that, we get to test out a new power tool. This is the Hammerhead. It's a multi-tool. This one's pretty basic and pretty inexpensive. I have the options of like buying a real one, like the Makita ones, to use with my Makita batteries, which should be over $100, or just getting like an inexpensive one that was highly recommended by Amazon, of course. So this is less than $30 for this thing. They're pretty cool though. They have attachments that can go on that. So this makes like a little saw, and you can saw stuff. It's got a wider, rounder one. From my understanding, these attachments that come with it are not that high quality, which is why I got this, extra ones, you know, because you want to have more in case they break or something.
Damn, dude. He's like, shit, huh, guys?
Paul sucks at woodworking. We're pretty much in the only area in my garage that has enough floor space to set this thing on and get some of this work done. We need to make some long straight cuts on the foam board. I need to cut a strip off to use for the fold down flaps we're going to put on the side. And rather than marking it with the pencil and then cutting it somewhere else, we're just going to try to cut it in place right here. So I got a fresh new blade on my box cutter, and I hope this goes smoothly because we've only got 2 of these pieces and we need 1 for each side. So we have flaps that we're going to fold down on the sides so we can create a bit of a shroud and control the light for some specific scenarios. But we need a way to hold those in place, and also a reliable way that they can fold up and fold back down, be able to be held in place when they're folded up, and also ideally be able to fold up and down many times without just bending the foam board and potentially damaging it over time. So I got some piano hinges here, long, thin hinges. I'm going to go with 2 of these on the short side and 3 of them on the longer side. We can drill these straight into the wood for the upper part, but for the lower part that attaches to the cork board, I actually have some nylon rivets that should fit through here, so that'll be interesting, and I hope that works too. But when we fold the flap up, in order to hold it up against the frame, we're going to use some Velcro. Well, we want a lot of Velcro and want it to be held securely, not just with this adhesive strip. So as I put some screws into the upper part of the frame here, I'm also going to screw through this Velcro strip to hold that in place along the entire length. And I hope this works. I feel like I've said that a lot on this video. It's fairly sturdy. But I think there's 2 ways to do this. One is to try to measure everything and then cut the pieces out of the foam board and then lay it on, or to do it how I'm doing it, which is to sort of apply the pieces and then cut it to size. And I hope this was the right call. So we need to fold this here. I'm going to fold it around the corner, and I'm hoping that's going to help keep things supported and together and everything. Bend, bend, damn you. There we go. It's amazing.
It needs a necktie and a bow tie or something.
It does look like a little bit like a, you know, it's more of a formal softbox, which is okay.
Day 3.
This is like day 3 or 4 or something. We're spending a lot of time on this, so I've decided to cut a couple corners to get things finished off and functional, and then we might make some upgrades in the future. The final 4 steps involve lining the inside with the reflective aluminum tape, mounting the light to the top, securing the diffuser to the bottom of it, which we're gonna do with staples for now. We have enough to possibly redo that in the future. I'd like to do it with Velcro in the future, but we're running out of time to do stuff like actual sewing. And then the final step will be to mount it up to the ceiling. Sorry, I should have said 5 steps. Step 4 will be to mount the flaps on the sides. Step 5 will be to mount it to the ceiling. For that purpose, we have just stopped by Ace Hardware to purchase some chain. And we also got some updated eye screws because I wanted something that was a little bit stronger and that was also going to go down into the wood a little bit further. And now comes the slightly more precarious part. I need to set up 4 mounting points on the ceiling. I've already got 2 from the previous lights that were up there. So I'm going to mount this hopefully across 3 beams so that I can put some hooks on the bottom. And because I don't have a really tall ladder, I'm putting my ladder on top of the sit-stand desk frame. The sit-stand desk frame is supposed to be able to lift or drop like 250 pounds. So even though we might be kind of right at its limit, I'm hoping if I'm not actually using the motors while I'm on this, that it will still be okay. But you know, things could easily go wrong.
A few moments later.
Ow! Ow, that landed right on my toe. Ow, that hurt. Oh, good, we're filming. Ow, okay.
So I got all this footage.
That was pain. That was painful. It's like, good thing I took my shoes off.
Well, yeah, you don't want to scratch the table, man. Your toe can heal, but for this to scratch, I mean, come on, yeah.
Exactly.
Day 4.
We moved on another step by mounting the lights a little bit lower than they would have been originally. I just used a few pieces of wood there to sort of create a place for that center pole to stick through. By lowering them, I'd say about 3 or 4 inches, the lights are going to be a little bit more down in the reflective area here, so I think it's going to give us a little bit better bounce. Now, we're going to move on to the step where I'm totally cutting a corner, and that's because our diffusion, the sheet, silk, whatever thing that we have here, is actually 12 feet long, and because the overall softbox is less than 6 feet long, we have enough of this to use twice. So our first application here is going to be semi-permanent. What I would like to do is line the edges of this with Velcro so it could be attached but also removed in case we need to get in here to change a light bulb or something like that. But because this project is already taking way more time than I anticipated, we're going to use half of it to mount with these Lath Screws, which have a nice wide secure part for the top that will hold it in place. And since we're mounting to wood, which is fairly resilient, we should be able to get away with installing this for now, and we'll probably be removing it in the future and maybe doing an upgrade to add the Velcro along the edges with the second half of the diffusion silk. So as the screw is screwing in, it starts to bind the fabric and twist it a little bit here. So Joe had this great idea. He said, Paul, why don't you back off the screw a little bit? After it's pierced the fabric, that'll sort of undo that binding. Then when we go forward again, it doesn't bind nearly as much. Or if it does, we can always back it off just a little bit more. Just try to get this nice and smooth. Yay, not bad. Perfect. We've reached a very important stage in our build process, and that is finally gonna hang this thing from the ceiling. Of course, my ladder only goes up so high, and because we're hanging this over the table, I can no longer precariously prop the ladder on the table in order to get higher up. So, with a little bit of guidance from me, Joe went ahead and assembled this thing, drilling a hole through a broom handle, attaching a hook, so we can hopefully use this to grab the chain or to grab the corner of this to get it higher up until we have balanced it from all 4 mounting points. That's the plan, at least. Let's see how it goes. Ready?
Yeah.
Well, that took a lot of work. We are pretty much done. I'm not gonna say we're completely done, but we're done as far as this video is concerned because we need to get back to making videos about building computers and stuff like that. There's a couple things that I didn't quite use. One were these black blankets. These are actually welding blankets, which I got because they're like completely fireproof and stuff. There is a little bit of light leakage on the top of the softbox, so my plan was to potentially lay these across there to sort of block in all the light. If we ever got to the point where we really wanted to like shoot something in here where we completely controlled the light, we would want to have that. And then the other thing that wasn't added was the grid or the flaps on the side that we could have come down to help control light spillage and focus everything right on this area on the desk. We did install the piano hinges for that, so even with the light mounted up here, I think I should still be able to attach these, so hopefully that will come with an update in the future. Probably not another dedicated video on the softbox, but I will be continuing to do upgrade projects on the area that I shoot here in the garage, and we got some backyard projects coming up real soon too. We got these little vinyl rivets too to hold those on, so I'm curious how that will work. But that is gonna wrap it up for this video, you guys. Thank you very much for watching, for staying tuned as we sort of struggled through the process and figure out how things were gonna work out as we went. Overall, I'm super happy with the finished product. It's giving some nice even light up here. I have it wired up to the ceiling plug that's connected to the switch over there, so I can actually just switch it on and off coming in and out of the garage. And it's providing a lot more light out here than it was before. I don't know if you can tell from the beginning of the video to now or not, but hopefully it looks better. It is a little tough to put an actual price on the entire softbox because we use some hardware that I had here already. We use power tools and stuff like that I already have that you might not have access to, but overall we're looking at about a $400 to $500 price for this very large, roughly 4 foot by 5 foot softbox. If we were to attempt to purchase something like this, it would be much more expensive than that. And of course, having it custom built would also be very expensive. Of course, we also have to keep in mind the amount of time that was spent. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but hopefully this means as we continue to do build videos out here, they're gonna look really nice. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Hit the thumbs up button on this video if you enjoyed it because it took us a lot of time to put together. And of course, subscribe to my channel if you're not already for more tech videos coming at you real soon. And don't forget to check out my store at paulshardware.net where you can buy shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and all manner of high quality merchandise. Thank you very much again for watching this video, and we'll see you all in the next one.